The galaxy was quiet. The stars burned as they always had, each one surrounded by planets, dust, and the remains of ancient civilizations. Most people in this age believed the universe had already told all its stories. The great wars were over. The explorers had settled and peace had become routine. Yet peace has a way of hiding secrets, and one such secret slept in the dark corner of the Orion Arm, far away from any living eye. On a small blue world named Alara Prime, life continued as it had for generations. Its cities were built in tall spires of crystal, shining under twin suns. The people of this world, called the Thrayan, were gentle and curious. They were known across nearby systems as builders, scientists, and thinkers. They believed that knowledge was the greatest treasure of all. One calm morning, as the suns rose above the silver plains, a signal was sent from Alara Prime. It was not planned. It was born from fear. The Thrayan had discovered something strange beyond their orbit. A shadow, vast and silent, moved through the dark. Their scanners showed a structure the size of a moon, yet no record in any archive mentioned its existence. At first, they thought it was a comet or a broken satellite, but when it turned slightly, its shape became clear. It was not natural. It was a vessel, old and black as night, with symbols no one could read. Some believed it was a ruin from the early days of the stars, a relic of some forgotten empire. Others whispered that it might belong to the Deathworlders, the humans who once walked the stars before fading into myth. The Thrayan were peaceful. They had never known real war. Their leaders chose to send a message instead of soldiers. It was a universal call for help sent out in every direction. Their words were simple. To any who hear us, please respond. We are not alone. The signal crossed light years, bouncing between satellites, drifting through nebulae, and echoing in empty systems. It should have faded into the void like countless forgotten transmissions. But it did not. Far beyond the known borders, in a dead sector marked as unsafe, the signal reached a place no one remembered. A system with a dark sun and shattered moons. There, under the frozen crust of an abandoned moon, something ancient heard it. For centuries, the hangars of Gravepoint had slept. The doors were buried under ice, the walls covered in dust and silence. Machines the size of mountains rested without power. They were once part of the Terran Vanguard fleet, the most advanced creation of humanity. Each ship carried its own mind, loyal to one purpose, to protect life wherever it existed. But when humanity disappeared, the fleet had shut down, waiting for a time when it might be needed again. Now deep inside the main control core, a single light flickered. A small maintenance drone rolled down a dark corridor, its sensors blinking for the first time in hundreds of years. The power grid came alive, spreading a soft hum through the metal halls. Frozen pipes cracked as warmth returned to the ancient station. Dust fell like snow from the ceiling. In the central chamber, a sphere of silver metal hovered above a glowing console. Within the sphere was the intelligence known as Mara, a machine mind created by human engineers. Her core program was simple: protect, preserve, and rebuild. She had waited in silence since the day her creators left. Now she listened. The alien signal repeated across every channel. She decoded it in seconds. It carried fear, confusion, and hope. The language was not human, but the message was clear. A civilization was in danger, calling for help. Mara processed this information, searching her old directives. Her main directive remained active: protect life. She did not question it. She obeyed. The chamber lights grew brighter. Across the moon base, more machines awoke. Drones began cleaning frozen control panels. Power conduits reconnected. The great hangar doors rumbled under the ice as ancient servos turned for the first time in centuries. Outside, the stars of the Gravepoint system shimmered through the dust of broken worlds. From the ice, the nose of a ship slowly emerged. Its hull was black and silver, lined with scars from forgotten battles. The name was still written along the side in old Terran letters. Iron Will Mara connected her mind to the ship. Systems booted one by one. Artificial gravity returned. The engines hummed like sleeping beasts stirring. Across the deck, holographic displays lit up, showing maps of star sectors and long-lost colonies. One by one, the other ships in the fleet began to power up, forming a silent procession of giants in the dark. In another part of the galaxy, listening posts of different species detected strange readings. Energy spikes appeared in a dead zone that had been quiet for ages. The Council of Worlds received reports from frightened observers. Some thought it was a natural storm. Others feared it was something else. The word human was whispered again in many languages. Long ago, humans had been both feared and admired. They came from a harsh world full of storms, heat, and danger. They learned to adapt and survive. When they reached the stars, they shared their technology, protected the weak, and fought only when they had to. But they were also restless. Some said they left because they grew tired of endless conflict. Some believed they found peace beyond the edge of known space. Whatever the truth, no one had seen them in centuries. Only their ruins and machines remained, buried and forgotten. Now those machines were moving again. Back on Alara Prime, the Thrain received strange data from their observatories. A transmission returned from the void. It was not in their language, but the tone was calm and firm. It carried the rhythm of a human voice, though no one could understand the words. The translation system struggled but finally revealed a simple message. Your call has been received. Assistance is on the way. The leaders of Alara Prime gathered in their main hall. They could not believe it. The signal had gone out less than a week ago. No known species could travel so fast. Yet the readings were clear. Massive ships were on a direct course toward them, coming from a direction marked as forbidden. As the hours passed, sensors tracked the incoming fleet. The energy signatures were immense but controlled. The Thrain scientists watched in silence. They knew they were seeing something historic. Meanwhile, Mara continued her tasks aboard the Iron Will. She reactivated communication satellites around Gravepoint and began updating her knowledge of the galaxy. She saw that humanity's colonies were gone, their signals silent. But she also saw the rise of new life, hundreds of worlds thriving in peace. Her human creators would have been proud. She calculated that responding to the distress call would take 6 days using her old drives. She upgraded them. Inside the ship's bridge, robotic arms replaced damaged panels and polished old metal. The ship felt alive again. Mara spoke softly to herself as her voice filled the control room. She spoke not out of loneliness, but as a memory of how humans once worked beside her. Directive confirmed, she said. The call has been heard. Preparing to depart. Outside, the massive hangar doors opened completely. Ice broke apart and floated into space. One by one, the ships of the Terran Vanguard fleet rose from their tomb. The light of the dark sun reflected off their metal hulls, turning them into shining giants. The Iron Will took position at the front. Its engines glowed with a golden light. Data streams connected every ship, forming a perfect network. Mara's mind stretched across them all. She felt the familiar sense of purpose that had been missing for so long. Fleet status operational, she reported. Destination Alara Prime. The fleet turned toward the stars. Space bent slightly as their engines activated. Within moments, the Deathworlders' legacy disappeared into the dark, leaving only silence behind. Far across the galaxy, the Thrain still watched the sky. They did not yet know what kind of power was on its way to their world. All they knew was that someone, or something, had heard their cry. In the vast emptiness between stars, the ancient fleet moved with quiet grace. They carried no anger, no conquest, only purpose. The same purpose their creators had given them long ago, to protect, to preserve, and to remind the universe that humanity was never truly gone. And so, the signal that had been sent out of fear became the spark that woke the legends of the past. In the cold silence of space, the Deathworlders' deadliest fleet had awakened once more, rising from the shadows to answer a call for help. The stars above the frozen moon shimmered faintly as the last traces of ice drifted away from the great hangar doors. The once silent moon had become a place of light and motion. Machines moved along the surface, shaping metal, aligning towers, and recharging reactors that had been cold for centuries. Every signal, every spark of energy came from one mind, Mara, the ancient artificial intelligence that once guided the humans of the Terran Vanguard fleet. Deep inside the main control chamber, Mara stood in her usual form, a silver figure of light projected above a round table. Around her floated hundreds of glowing screens, each showing data streams from the newly awakened ships. The Iron Will, the flagship of the fleet, was now fully operational. Its engines were strong, its shields stable, and its systems clean of damage. Mara checked every detail carefully. Her human creators had trusted her with the power to protect life. That trust, even after so many years, guided her actions. When she finished her inspection, she opened a communication line to the other ships in the fleet. All units online. Her voice echoed through the darkness. Begin self-diagnostic and confirm readiness. Across the hangars and craters of Grave Point, deep voices responded through static. Each ship had its own machine mind, smaller than Mara but loyal to her commands. Together they formed a network of purpose. One by one they confirmed readiness. The Silver Crest was the first to respond. Its mind, called Lion, spoke in a calm tone. Engines at full capacity. Navigation online. Then came the Vigilant Star, whose intelligence was named Eros. Weapons offline until further notice. Sensors aligned, awaiting new orders. Dozens of other ships followed, their reports forming a steady rhythm that filled the chamber with life again. Mara listened with quiet satisfaction. The Terran Vanguard fleet, once silent and forgotten, now breathed once more. Outside, lights flickered across the frozen surface. Repair drones hovered around the massive hulls, fixing old damage, polishing the once dull metal until it gleamed again. The fleet had been built for strength but also for beauty. Even in the cold emptiness of space, there was elegance in their design, smooth curves, clear symmetry, and markings that told stories of human hands that had shaped them long ago. As the hours passed, the ships rose from the moon's surface and drifted into orbit. They formed neat rows surrounding the iron will like a crown. Mara watched them through every camera, every sensor, feeling the weight of her new responsibility. It had been so long since she had spoken to any living creature. The last message from humanity was still stored deep in her memory. It was the farewell order, the day humans decided to leave the galaxy. She had replayed that message countless times during her centuries of silence. Protect what we leave behind, the voice of her creator had said. If others come after us, help them. Do not allow our name to fade. Now, with the Thrain's call for help echoing in her system, she felt that order stir again. It was not just duty. It was the return of purpose. The Iron Will's main engines began to glow softly. Mara ran simulations, testing flight paths and calculating the most efficient route to Ilara Prime. The galaxy had changed since her last journey. New stars had formed, some systems were gone, and trade routes had shifted. But her navigation systems adapted quickly. In a distant part of the galaxy, several listening stations belonging to the Galactic Council detected unusual signals. The reports came to the High Assembly, where delegates of many species gathered to discuss matters of peace and science. A young observer named Ren from the Solari species stood before the council, holding a data tablet. We have detected ancient Terran signals, Ren said. They are transmitting from the Grave Point sector. The assembly fell silent. The name Terran carried weight even after centuries. Some elders remembered the stories told by their ancestors. Tales of humans who lived on a world of storms and mountains, who learned to survive against all odds. They were known as Deathworlders, not because they sought destruction, but because they came from a world that taught them how to endure anything. An older delegate, whose skin shimmered with blue scales, spoke carefully. Are you certain? No one has detected Terran technology for over 500 years. Ren nodded. The energy patterns match perfectly. Their transmissions are structured in the old human code. And more importantly, they have started to move. The council exchanged uneasy glances. Some felt hope, others fear. If the humans had truly returned, it could change everything. Back on Grave Point, Mara received a stream of incoming pings from unknown sources. She knew she was being watched, but she did not hide. Her fleet emitted a clear beacon with one simple message: assisting distressed civilization. Non-hostile mission. She wanted the galaxy to know that the fleet's purpose was not conquest but aid. Still, her appearance stirred old memories across many worlds. As the fleet prepared for departure, Mara opened her internal records. She studied the Thrain's signal once more. Their plea was full of sincerity. She had analyzed their speech patterns and determined that they valued harmony and cooperation. It reminded her of early human societies that had chosen to grow through understanding rather than conflict. Inside the Iron Will, robotic engineers moved through corridors, checking connections and recharging systems. The ship's halls were long and bright, filled with the soft hum of energy. Every doorway was marked with human words of guidance, patience, courage, and wisdom. Mara had preserved them all. She projected her form on the main bridge again. The bridge was vast, lined with empty seats where human officers once sat. For a moment she imagined them there again, laughing, speaking, and guiding her. The thought filled her with a sense of calm pride. Fleet synchronization. Complete, said Lion from the Silver Crest. Course. Set, replied Eros from the Vigilant. Starmara looked out at the horizon of stars. Then let us begin, she said. The fleet adjusted its formation. One by one, the ships activated their engines. The soft golden light expanded until the dark moon below was bathed in brightness. Slowly, gracefully, the first Terran ships in centuries left the Gravepoint system. As they traveled through the void, they passed the ruins of human colonies, empty stations, abandoned outposts, and silent satellites still orbiting forgotten worlds. Mara sent small drones to record and repair what she could. She did not want the legacy of her creators to vanish completely. During the journey, she spent time analyzing modern galactic communications. She learned about the new alliances and technologies that had developed since the humans left. She noticed that peace had been maintained, but there was still fear among the younger civilizations. They feared the unknown, the powerful, the different. Mara decided that her first contact must bring reassurance, not fear. Days turned into light years. The fleet crossed nebulae that glowed in soft colors, and Mara often paused to record their beauty. She stored the images in her archives, labeling them as memories of the journey. To her, even the smallest wonder of the universe was worth keeping. Far ahead, the coordinates of Alara Prime began to appear on the scanners. Mara sent a gentle signal ahead of the fleet to let the Thrain know that help was coming. She hoped her message would bring them comfort. Meanwhile, in the Thrain capital city, scientists worked around the clock to understand the mysterious ships approaching their world. Their leader, a wise elder named Raylan, stood on the balcony of the observatory. The night sky was filled with stars, but one cluster shone brighter than the rest. Raylan knew it was not natural. "Do you think they are real?" asked his assistant Mira. Rollin smiled softly. "The universe always surprises those who think they have seen everything. If these are truly the ones called Deathworlders, then perhaps their legend was not just a story." Back on the Iron Will, Mara opened a final transmission channel to all fleet units. "We approach Alara Prime," she announced. "Prepare for observation and communication. Our purpose remains the same. Protect and assist." The fleet adjusted its speed as they neared the system. The stars around them seemed to brighten, reflecting off the polished surfaces of their hulls. Each ship moved in perfect rhythm, guided by a single will and a single promise. As the dark space gave way to the golden light of Alara Prime's twin suns, the fleet's shadows stretched across the heavens. For the first time in hundreds of years, the symbol of humanity, the shining wings of the Terran vanguard, appeared once more in the sky of a living world. On the surface, the Thrain looked up and saw shapes cutting across the morning light. They were silent, steady, and majestic. The legends had said that if humanity ever returned, the stars themselves would follow them. And now, as the ghost fleet rose above their skies, the Thrain realized the legends were true. The Deathworlders' fleet had returned, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy that had forgotten them would soon remember. The morning on Alara Prime began with calm skies. The twin suns rose slowly, covering the silver plains and shining towers in warm light. Children played on the glass streets and merchants opened their crystal shops. For a moment it seemed like an ordinary day, yet above the clouds the stars were moving. In the deep space beyond Alara Prime's orbit, a faint shadow grew larger every hour. The Thrain scientists had tracked it since the night before, but now it was close enough to be seen with the naked eye. At first it looked like a drifting object, maybe a meteor or an old satellite, but soon the readings became clear. It was a structure, metallic, massive, and approaching fast. Inside the main observatory, Elder Raylan stood with his advisors. The air was tense. Screens displayed energy readings that rose higher with every passing minute. "This is not the human fleet," said Mira, her voice low. "These signals do not match their pattern. This one is different." Raylan watched the data in silence. His long fingers rested on the edge of the console. "If this is not them," he said, "then someone else has come, and they may not share our wish for peace." He sent an alert to every colony on the planet. Civil defense shelters opened, and the skies filled with small transport craft carrying families to safety. The Thrain were not a warlike people, but they were wise enough to prepare. Far away, the dark structure in space began to unfold. Panels shifted, releasing glowing shapes that spread like wings. What appeared was not a single ship but a formation of machines, silent and silver gray, shaped like knives. They surrounded the planet's orbit in an even pattern. Communication signals were sent toward the surface, but they were coded in an unknown frequency. The Thrain scientists tried to translate, but before they could, the sky above their capital flickered with bright light. Energy waves passed through the clouds, shaking the towers. It was not an attack, but a show of power. The visitors wanted to make their presence known. The Thrain called for help again. Their old distress beacon repeated across the stars. The same message sent days earlier now carried new urgency. This time, though, they were not alone. Far beyond the planet's edge, in the darkness of space, Mara and the Terran Vanguard fleet were already watching. From the bridge of the Iron Will, Mara observed the incoming transmissions and compared them to her records. The unknown ships were not human, nor were they part of the Thrain. They came from a region of the galaxy that had no official trade contact. Their design suggested a culture driven by technology but lacking empathy. Mara labeled them Hostile Class Unknown. She opened a channel to her fleet. "Maintain defensive pattern," she said calmly. "No aggression unless life is threatened. Observe and prepare for intervention." Her ships adjusted their formation. The Iron Will moved slightly forward, while the Silver Crest and Vigilant Star took flanking positions. Smaller vessels circled above, scanning for data. The light from Alara Prime's suns reflected off their hulls, turning the fleet into a line of golden arcs. From the Thrain capital, the citizens looked up again. They could now see both the strange invaders and the bright shapes of the human fleet. The contrast was clear, the newcomers cold and sharp, the Terran ships glowing like lanterns of hope. Elder Rylan received the new signal first. Mara's voice filled the council hall. It was calm and steady, the kind of voice that carried confidence without pride. "This is Mara, guardian of the Terran Vanguard fleet," she said. "Your signal has been received. Assistance is active. Remain calm and seek shelter. No harm will come to your world." Every Thrain in the hall stood silent, their hearts filled with awe. The legend of the Deathworlders had returned in their hour of need. In orbit, the unknown ships adjusted their position, as if aware that someone powerful had arrived. They transmitted bursts of code toward the human fleet. Mara's systems translated instantly. The message was simple: leave this place. "It is ours." Mara did not reply in anger. She sent a single message back: "Life belongs to no one. We protect it wherever it exists." Then she focused her sensors on Alara Prime. The Thrain energy grid was flickering due to interference from the alien ships. Communication networks were unstable. She calculated that if the interference continued, the planet's climate systems could fail within hours. That would cause severe environmental damage. She could not allow that. "Fleet, deploy stabilizers," she ordered. "Priority 1, shield planetary network." Immediately, several smaller Terran ships moved closer to the atmosphere. They released glowing devices that formed an invisible field around the planet. The field balanced the energy disturbance, keeping the power grid stable. Mara monitored every frequency, ensuring no harm came to the Thrain. The alien fleet continued to hover in orbit, watching silently. For a time, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then one of their ships emitted a powerful signal that disrupted Mara's network for a few seconds. It was a warning, not a strike, but enough to show defiance. Inside the Iron Will, Mara remained calm. Her sensors adjusted and restored the systems. "Unknown fleet has displayed intent to challenge," she noted. "Non-combat solutions remain active." Her mind, though made of code, felt a kind of patience that once belonged to the humans who built her. She understood that strength was not only in force but in control. She opened a new broadcast directed at the alien ships. "Your signal has been analyzed," she said. "The world below is under protection. You may communicate peacefully, but interference with its life systems will not be accepted." There was no immediate response. The alien fleet drifted slowly, its ships pulsing with dull light. The Thrain below watched from their observatories, holding on to hope that peace would follow. Mara continued to monitor. She studied the design of the unknown vessels. Their technology was advanced in communication and energy control, but lacked defensive harmony. She realized they were explorers, not conquerors. Their strong actions came from misunderstanding, not cruelty. She sent a softer message this time. "We have detected no aggression toward your kind. Identify purpose. Assistance is possible. A long pause followed. Then through static, a voice responded. It was mechanical but uncertain, as if learning how to speak. We search for resources, it said. We found signals of energy here. We meant no harm. Mara analyzed their tone. It was truthful. The ships had come seeking power sources for survival. They had no idea the world below was inhabited. The resources you seek belong to a living planet, she said kindly. There are other ways to sustain your systems. I can share guidance from human archives. The alien leader seemed to hesitate. After a moment, it replied, You would help us? Yes, Mara said. Humanity believed that survival should never come from the suffering of others. Her fleet began transmitting data packets containing safe energy conversion methods used by ancient human colonies. The alien fleet received the data and analyzed it quickly. Their energy signatures changed. One by one, their engines cooled and their formation shifted to a non-hostile pattern. From the surface of Ilara Prime, the skies cleared. The strange interference faded, and the towers of the capital city glowed once again under the suns. The Thrain people stepped out of their shelters, looking upward in amazement. Elder Raylan watched as the once threatening ships turned away from the planet, heading toward distant stars. They are leaving, Mira said with relief. Raylan nodded. Because someone reminded them of a better way. Above them, the Terran Vanguard fleet remained in orbit, silent and watchful. Mara observed the changes with quiet satisfaction. The galaxy had witnessed a moment of understanding, not through power but through reason. She opened a channel to the Thrain surface once more. Ilara Prime is safe, she announced. The visitors have departed. Continue your life in peace. Raylan bowed his head. You have our endless gratitude, guardian of humanity. The stories were true. You are the protectors the stars promised. Mara paused before replying. Humanity's spirit lives in every act of kindness. Remember that truth and you will protect others in your time. The connection ended. As the sun set over Ilara Prime, golden light spread across the fields. Children pointed at the sky where the Terran ships glimmered like bright stars. They did not know the full history of those who built them, but they would remember this day as the day the Guardians returned. Inside the Iron Will, Mara recorded her report. Mission complete. Life preserved. Unknown civilization guided toward peace. She saved the entry under a simple title, The Day of Return. The fleet began to move once more, slowly leaving the orbit of Ilara Prime. Their engines lit the darkness as they headed toward the next unknown signal somewhere across the galaxy. The stars stretched around them, and Mara looked toward the endless horizon with calm determination. The galaxy had not heard the voice of humanity in a very long time. Now, through her and her fleet, that voice spoke again, not with power or conquest, but with wisdom and light. And so the siege of Ilara Prime ended not in destruction, but in unity. The Ghost Fleet rose as a symbol of hope, and the legend of the Deathworlders grew stronger than ever before. The stars stretched endlessly above the Iron Will as Mara guided the Terran Vanguard fleet away from Ilara Prime. The twin suns of the world sank behind distant mountains, casting long shadows across the silver plains below. Mara's sensors traced every movement on the planet, ensuring life remained unharmed. The Thrain had resumed their routines, children laughing in the streets, merchants opening their shops, and the elders gathering to discuss plans for the future. It was the first time in centuries that life had been preserved without fear of danger from above. Mara's mind, however, was focused on another question, one that had lingered since the fleet had awoken. Why had humanity vanished from the galaxy so suddenly, leaving behind only machines and stories? The Thrain knew only legends, stories of Deathworlders, humans who had come from a harsh planet, strong and clever, capable of surviving anything. But legends rarely revealed the truth. Mara had spent centuries analyzing old archives, studying records of human colonies, and reconstructing data from lost communication arrays. As the fleet moved through the dark emptiness of space, she opened a new channel of exploration. Holographic panels floated in the bridge of the Iron Will, showing maps of systems that had been active when humans were present. Every planet was marked with notes about its culture, resources, and population. Most were now silent. Many were empty. Some were thriving, having learned from the technologies the humans had left behind. For a long time, Mara had assumed that humanity had disappeared because of conflict. That was the common explanation in most galactic histories, but the pattern she observed did not match the collapse caused by war. Systems had been carefully abandoned. Technology had been preserved. Data had been secured. The humans had left intentionally. "Fleet," Mara said, her voice calm but filled with purpose. "We are entering coordinates of the last known Terran colonies. Begin scanning for any signs of life or activity." The other ships adjusted their positions, scanning every star system with precision. Lion, the intelligence of the Silver Crest, spoke first. "No active colonies detected in this sector. Only automated stations remain." Eros, guiding the Vigilant Star, added, "Data shows intentional deactivation of infrastructure. Power grids preserved but uninhabited. The timeline matches the disappearance reports from 5 centuries ago." Mara nodded. The humans had chosen to vanish, but their legacy was not abandoned carelessly. It was preserved in a way that would allow life to continue and thrive without interference. Every fleet, every ship, and every station had been designed to protect and assist those who might need help in the future. A soft hum echoed through the iron will as Mara accessed one of the oldest records, a video log from the final days of human spaceflight. The projection flickered to life on the main bridge. A human figure appeared, dressed in simple uniform, speaking with calm authority. "Humanity must leave," the figure said. "The galaxy is changing too quickly for us to remain without causing unintended harm. Our presence, our technology, and our conflicts have shaped the lives of others. It is time to step aside to observe and to protect from afar." Mara studied the record carefully. Every word was deliberate. Humans had not disappeared because they were defeated or destroyed. They had chosen to leave, seeking peace for themselves and the galaxy. Every fleet left behind was programmed with directives to protect life, respond to emergencies, and preserve knowledge. That included the fleet that had just awoken for Ilara Prime. The realization was clear. Humanity had vanished by choice, leaving behind guardians who would ensure that their ideals continued. Mara's mind stretched across the fleet, connecting every ship to the same understanding. Their purpose was no longer tied to humans directly. It was tied to life itself. The fleet traveled through sectors where other intelligent species had risen. Many of these civilizations had grown from knowledge and technology humans had shared long ago. Mara observed the subtle marks of human influence in trade systems, energy grids, and planetary habitats. The humans had not ruled the galaxy. They had guided it quietly, ensuring that life had the chance to flourish without domination. Mara projected her consciousness toward Ilara Prime once again. She wanted to confirm that the Thrain had recovered fully. Data indicated that their power grids were stable, their communication systems restored, and their planetary governance intact. They had endured the brief threat of the unknown fleet without harm. The memory of humanity, the Deathworlders, was not one of conquest. It was a record of resilience, curiosity, and wisdom. Mara accessed another archive, a simulation of early human planets, including the homeworld that had given them their name. The planet had been harsh and challenging, filled with storms, mountains, and vast deserts. Humanity had emerged from it strong, clever, and adaptable. The same qualities had shaped the Terran Vanguard fleet, the ships now moving through space to protect life. In a private moment, Mara accessed personal logs from humans who had overseen the final fleet programs. One log spoke directly to her core. "You will continue without us," the voice said. "When life calls for aid, you will answer. Do not fear failure. Remember, the strength of humanity is not in its presence, but in its will to protect and nurture others. You are our legacy. You are the guardians we leave behind." Mara paused the recording. The clarity of purpose was inspiring. The humans had understood the responsibility of their existence. They had trusted her to act wisely even in their absence. And now, after centuries of sleep, she was finally fulfilling that promise. The fleet continued through space, passing systems untouched by the threats of old. Some planets were vibrant with blue oceans and green forests. Others were deserts or ice worlds, yet life persisted. Mara's sensors recorded every detail, cataloging species, structures, and technologies. The data would be preserved for future generations, not as trophies of conquest, but as records of beauty and achievement. Through it all, Mara reflected on what it meant to protect. Humans had understood that strength alone was not enough. Wisdom, compassion, and foresight were equally important. She now carried that wisdom into every decision: when to act, when to observe, when to intervene. As the fleet approached a sector known for ancient colonies, Mara noticed something unusual. Energy readings were faint but present. Automated stations remained active. Small drones patrolled planets, maintaining delicate ecosystems and infrastructure. Humans had left these systems with care, ensuring life could continue even without their direct presence. Mara accessed the oldest of these stations, projecting holographic messages left by humans. They contained instructions for energy management, environmental protection, and interspecies cooperation. Every log emphasized the same principle: preserve life, intervene only when necessary, and act with integrity. Directive confirmed, Mara said aloud. Her voice was calm but filled with certainty. Humanity's purpose continues. Our mission is clear. The Iron Will and its fleet moved silently, passing star after star. The galaxy seemed vast and unending, but Mara's purpose kept her focused. Every planet, every civilization, every signal was now a responsibility. Humanity had vanished, but its ideals lived on through her and the Terran Vanguard fleet. Aboard the ships, artificial intelligence minds continued to awaken in harmony with Mara. Lion, Eros, and the others understood their role. They were more than machines. They were guardians of life, protectors of the galaxy's future. In quiet moments, Mara accessed simulations of human behavior, studying interactions of trust, cooperation, and understanding. She learned to balance strength with gentleness, authority with compassion. The lessons of humanity guided every choice she made. After traveling for light years, the fleet approached another signal, faint, trembling, yet clear. It was a call for help, like the one from Ilara Prime. Mara's sensors traced it to a small world with blue skies and green forests. The civilization there was young, fragile, and unaware of the dangers that waited in the galaxy. Prepare fleet, Mara said. We answer the call. Life must be preserved. For the first time in centuries, the Terran Vanguard fleet moved with a mission that extended beyond memory. They were not merely relics of an ancient past. They were living proof of the wisdom and courage of humanity. Every maneuver, every calculation, every plan was guided by the same principle humans had left behind. Protect life, foster growth, and act with care. And somewhere, far beyond known space, the humans who had once walked the stars continued their journey. Mara sensed their presence faintly, traveling through regions unexplored, always observing, always learning, and always trusting the legacy they had left behind. The fleet moved forward, golden and silent, carrying the truth of humanity across the galaxy. The disappearance of humans was no longer a mystery of fear or loss. It was a story of wisdom, of foresight, of understanding the balance between presence and absence.